वृत्तयः पञ्चतयः क्लिष्टा क्लिष्टाः
Namaskaram. We'll be seeing the 5th Yoga Sutra today. Before that, let's chant Om together. The 5th Yoga Sutra is Vrittayaha Panchatayya Klishta Klishtaha. Vrittayaha means modifications. Vritti, we have been looking into this for a long time now. Panchatayya, fivefold. Pancha, five. Panchatayya, fivefold. Klishta is painful, afflicted with kleshas. And aklishtaha, painless, undisturbing, not imbued with kleshas. So we have been talking about vrittis for a long time now. We talked about how vrittis cloud our mind and how we need to dissolve the vrittis so that we can look into our true nature. We can see our self. We can see our own inner self. Now we are going to go a little more deeper in understanding about what are vrittis. Maharshi Patanjali tells us that there are 5 vrittis. Now these are divided into 2 different categories. That is why the klishta and the aklishtaha came in. So the meaning of vrittayaha panchatayya klishta klishtaha means the tendencies that causes the mind to fluctuate are fivefold. Okay, and they are either afflicting or non-afflicting. That is, some are painful and some are painless. Now, what is this painful and what are these painless things? We've understood that vrittis are thought patterns. That's something which we have been looking in, and I think we have a clear understanding that vrittis are thought patterns, modifications, what our mind is making because of our thought patterns. Let's also look into what is the connection with the word called samskaras. I think we have been hearing this word, especially in the Indian culture. We have heard this word of samskara quite often. So what is the connection between vrittis and samskaras and how samskaras can entangle us? We'll understand that now. So every vritti creates an impression in the mind. Vritti is thought, right? Every thought, it creates an impression in the mind. Now repeated thoughts manifest as habits. If we just go back to our childhood, I think we all would have had this experience where our parents or teachers scolded us if, or made us do the right thing. If we do something wrong, they used to either punish us so that we remember this punishment all through so that we don't repeat that particular mistake. Or probably they would give an example of an experience, of a story, somewhere where they make us understand that this is something which is not right and you should not be doing this. And most of the time they say it's you should not repeat this again. Okay, let's not repeat this particular thing. The first time you have done this, fine, understand that this is a mistake and please don't repeat this. Why they would have stressed that in the first instance itself is because these thoughts or these actions, these thought patterns that we have, when we are doing this repeatedly, it becomes an habit. So I think they wanted us to make sure, they wanted to make sure that we don't make that particular thing as a habit. And that is why they wanted to stop it right. So, we have seen that nipping at the bud itself, right? So when it is very small itself, like we nip it out so that it doesn't become bigger plant where it becomes too deep rooted and we will not be able to come out of that. That's precisely what is happening here, that every thought pattern, when it creates an impression in this mind, and when we repeat these vrittis, repeat these thought patterns, it will manifest as habits. And these habits, repeated over and over, what happens is it starts to influence our mind. It starts to control our mind. And that becomes a samskara. A samskara means a habit that's deeply ingrained and which will help, or it's not helping actually, it is influencing and shaping our personality. It is shaping our inner world. So we get into this vicious circle of vrittis and samskaras. That's why it's also called as the vritti samskara chakra. That is, it keeps, one thing leads to the other, and, that keeps going and coming back into our lives. And that also becomes a very important contributor of our karma, the cause and effect. So sometimes we see that, the mind thinks rationally, sometimes it does not, sometimes it has a very clear purpose, and sometimes it keeps wandering aimlessly. Some thoughts bring in love and some thoughts bring in hatred. Some are very meaningful and some are very absurd. So we come out with our thought patterns are weighed, so many opposites are there. Sometimes there are very, very good thoughts, there are very constructive thoughts, and sometimes it's not. I wouldn't say destructive, but it probably is not very constructive. It's probably just wandering aimlessly kind of a thing. And some thoughts are pleasant and some thoughts are not pleasant. Now, there's also another way to look at these thought patterns. I said the word, when I was talking about pleasant and unpleasant. There are some thought patterns which brings in pain initially but ends up in pleasure or at peace. And there are some thoughts which creates pleasure initially but can lead into some kind of a pain. I'll give you an example so that we can, better understand this particular concept. Now, our teachers or our parents used to, I'll still come again to those parents and teachers scolding us. So these parents and teachers, they used to scold us. Why do they scold us? Is it because they get they get a lot of joy out of scolding? No, it isn't that. Maybe when they scold, it creates a lot of pain in us, or maybe it creates a kind of little anger in us, or it's not pleasant, it's unpleasant. But those things initially which caused us pain, it is only because it will mold us to become a better person later. So as we grow up, those values that they have told us, what they have taught us, maybe even by getting a little angry on us because of a certain wrongdoing that we might have done, that they're scolding us so that they carve us out into a much better person. So what I'm trying to tell you is the thoughts which created pain initially, later we ourselves realize, sometimes I realize, okay, now I understand why my mother scolded me for this particular thing, or my father scolded me for this particular thing, or my teacher scolded me. Now I understand, I can get a connection, and I am thankful to them for that, because that helped me to become who I am today. So the thought patterns which created pain initially ended up in pleasure, or it ended up pleasant. Now, another example of if certain thoughts which was pleasant initially but caused pain later. Say suppose, we have seen instances where, a person who's in love with another person, and, it is very pleasant, then it's very joyful and very happy about it. But then if the other person becomes a little more possessive, or, starts to show certain, habits, their samskaras when it comes out, then it probably may not be a pleasant experience. That possessiveness, that obsession can become a painful experience later on. So what I'm trying to say is, see, there are there are so many thought patterns which are good, and there are certain thought patterns which are bad, which has a negative influence over our mind. Now, so these thoughts, but at the end of it, what we need to see is there are a lot of these thoughts which are coming and going, and each and every thought is creating an impression, forming into a habit and into a samskaras. So these tendencies will then become so deep rooted in us that we get identified with it, so that our whole personality becomes that. We get so much deeply identified with that, and they become so potent that they start to dictate us. That's how we become slaves of our own mind. And thoughts created by a disturbed mind, that is what is klishta. So thoughts created by a disturbed mind can become certain, it can end up getting disturbing experiences to us. And some thoughts which is being created when we are peaceful or when we are calm, it gets into a constructive thought pattern, that is aklishtaha. So, but both are, if you remember, it is the same, both are derived from this term called as klesha or affliction. Okay, so there are constructive thoughts and there can be destructive thoughts also. The thoughts that affect us physically, mentally and spiritually, they are klishta thoughts. They are negative thoughts. That blocks our journey, it blocks our growth, it blocks our way forward. Okay, so no matter how committed we are on the spiritual path, sometimes if we are not aware of our thoughts, if we are not able to judge what our mind is taking us in, then even with so much of sadhana, what happens is we will not be able to move forward. So we need to be aware of all the thoughts that's coming into us and what is the effect that our mind has on this particular thought. Unless we become aware of that, I don't think we will be able to make any progress in our spiritual journey or in our inward journey. So to a large extent, spiritual practices involves removing these painful thoughts and replacing them with constructive or auspicious or aklishta thoughts. The systematic practice of yoga leading to samadhi begins with eliminating painful thoughts and replacing them with non-painful ones. But that's not enough. So, that's only one step towards coming from, painful thoughts to painless thoughts. Further to getting only constructive thoughts, even those that, needs to be coming to a complete halt, so as to be fully established in a true self, in a pure being. So yoga practices often begins with asana and pranayama, but the ultimate goal is to attain mastery over the mind's roaming tendencies, or these roaming modifications or impressions that we're having. It keeps taking us all around, everywhere around. So to attain mastery over this mind's roaming tendencies and elevating the mind into its pristine state, into its pure state, so that we are able to see into that pure consciousness. Okay, we are able to get into that pure consciousness state. In Bhagavatam also, in the 11th canto, 13th chapter, there's a very beautiful shloka which is telling Sattvam Rajas Tama iti Gunabuddherna Chatmanaha Sattvena Anyatamau Hanyat Sattvam Sattvena Chaivahi. What it says is, through worldly sattva, we conquer rajas and tamas, and through the vishuddha sattva guna, we conquer the worldly guna. What it means is that we first remove the negative thoughts and then move the positive thoughts also away from you to create equanimity within us. So what it is trying to tell is that neither good nor bad should be affecting us in any way. Pain or pleasure should not be affecting us in any way. It should not affect our equilibrium. It should not affect our balance. So sometimes if we are too happy also, we probably do certain things which is probably not right to attain that particular balance. Same thing with when it comes to when we are too sad. So both should not be made to conquer our mind. We should be able to create that equanimity there. So pain or pleasure, both needs to be handled in a very neutral way, so that it doesn't affect us one bit also. Now, is that there within me to reach that particular destination? Can I reach there? I think if I have that inner urge within me to conquer my mind, I'm sure I'm going to find answers, and I'm sure we'll all find answers to it. I'll end this particular session with a very beautiful quote from Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. He says that, as long as I live, so long do I learn. So learning never stops. Learning should be there till our last breath. I hope we will be able to learn more and more how to conquer our mind, how to make sure these vrittis do not affect us in any ways. Let's see that in the next sutras. Pranam.